Snake, have you heard of the last war?
Yes. Let me warn you right up front, I'm going to spoil the shit out of this movie. So listen, I recommend it. Go watch it. I rate it instant noodles. But be aware that I'm about to completely spoil this whole thing. So let's go. The Last War is a 1961 Japanese film about a normal Japanese family. The father is proud of the hard work he puts into building a life for his family. The mother is ill but taking medicine to get better and is still able to work out in the garden. The youngest daughter, Saiko, is nervous about her boyfriend asking her parents' permission for marriage. The movie is still taking place in 1961. And, of course, the children, they love their cartoons when they're not doing homework. And then everybody on Earth dies in a nuclear apocalypse. It doesn't come strictly out of nowhere, at least not for the viewer. Interspersed throughout are scenes of very narrowly avoided disaster. 14 years before the actual Soviet false flag incident. No, not false. 14 years before the Soviet false alarm incident, a similar situation happens in the movie. 2 years before the Cuban Missile Crisis, a very similar situation plays out. And, there's a part where a larger nation starts to threaten a smaller nation with nukes, and the Japanese government is all too happy to pat themselves on the back for their ability to calm the situation down. And they even pat themselves on the back saying, hey, can you imagine if a stupid, impatient asshole was in charge of negotiating this? How'd that get there? The family that centers in this film is not a very politically active one. They don't really seem to follow the world events, even like a few of them that even reach human civilization. They'd even reach the civilian population. That's what I'm trying to say. Jesus, the little bits of it that actually reach them are met with like, gee, well, I hope that doesn't escalate any further. It's very apparent in this film that in every step of the process, from the people who are in, like the family, the government, the people working in the nuclear submarines, the people working in the warehouses that store the nuclear materials, none of them want this shit to go on. And the family themselves, they're not, like I said, politically active, so they don't really take any sides in anything. They just don't want it to continue on. They're just normal people like you and I. We don't want shit like that happening, even in the middle of nowhere. Like a war your country isn't even directly or indirectly involved in. You don't want that shit happening. The film makes the use of these weapons, even accidentally, feel inevitable. Even in the early instances where things were triggering by accident, or people getting false alarms to fire, and our only savior comes from being too scared to launch the end of the world themselves. But even with how narrowly we avoid these catastrophes, it's like the strong message of the film is, how many times do we want to roll this set of dice? The most unnerving scene in this film is towards the end, when nuclear war is finally inevitable, and we get this scene where our family is dining at home, celebrating a New Year's dinner that nobody feels like they can take a part in. The children are the only ones with an appetite. They're too naive, too young to truly understand what's going on. Saiko, her now fiance, is aboard one of the nuclear ships, and she doesn't know his fate at all. The mother just stops taking her medicine because why bother at this point, right? And the father deeply regrets spending so much time working and not with his family. It's a horribly heartbreaking scene. And then everyone on the planet is killed. The core message of this movie being an obvious one, that now that these nuclear weapons are on the table, what is the next great world war become? And it's simple. It becomes the last war.